Hello everyone, welcome back to some more Terra Mystica. This is episode 5 of my series on the season 37 of the Terra Mystica League. Pretty sure it's season 37. This is the game in which I was player 1. So if you want to go back and watch the faction selection video where we talk about why I chose Darklings, you can do that. But I mean, spoiler, the reason is that Darklings are pretty dang good. And the other players ended up picking some pretty normal stuff. Darklings, Witches, Cultists, Engineers is a very popular matchup in high-level play, apparently. Witches and Engineers don't really like each other, but typically the problem is, like, you get to 4th position and it's like, what are you even supposed to pick? They all kind of suck. Often it goes like Darklings, then Cultists, then Engineers, or Darklings, then Engineers, then Cultists. And you can like pick Witches to like fight the Engineers for 3rd place. Or I don't remember what else you can do. Swarmlings and try to make the Cultists have a sad time? I don't know. There's not a lot of good options at that point, is what I hear from players better than me. So at this point, though, in this game, though, Witches were actually chosen 2nd, and then Cultists, and then Engineers. So recall I talked in the last video about how I had read that Cultists are particularly well suited to clean up the Witches / Engineers fight for territory. We didn't see that last game because that was the Nomads game, but the Witches and Engineers, you know, they did come 3rd and 4th because they dropped out. In this game, though, nobody dropped out. This is my one, I believe, my one tournament game where neither of the 2 players who were dropping out of everything were playing. So we actually got to play this one all the way to the end. And I will give you a slight spoiler to the ending of this video, which is that right until like the very last couple of turns, I was not certain what place I would finish in. It's not like the last video where I, like, starting around 4, I was like, oh, I win. I could narrow it down. Like, there was at least one place I was sure I would not finish in, but the other 3 were all sort of up in the air until quite late for me. So there's your answer. I either am definitely not coming 1st or definitely not coming 4th. So there you go. If you enjoy a little bit of faux suspense, there it is. Once again, I built over here, hoping to again attract like Engineers to this tile or Witches to this one. And I think E10 was my first building, right? Yeah. And then they built all this stuff, and I was like, geez, where do I even put the 2nd structure? Like, over here kind of sucks. It's not that easy to build a lot of dwellings that way. Like, you know, to go this way is a bit tough. And it would just sort of make the Cultists even happier, I think. I don't know, it takes away a space from them. Maybe I should have done it. Because they don't... I don't know. No, they'd be thrilled to have this space even more than this one working well, so I don't know. I think this was fine. And at least this way, like, if there's one benefit to having Cultists as neighbors, it's that they're always happy to give you all the leech you want. I mean, of course there are exceptions when, like, they've decided you're the main rival, and they can stop you from getting some key thing by not giving you any leech. But in general, the Cultists love to help their opponents get power. And so they're good neighbors to have generally. It gives them a bonus, but like the point of Terra Mystica is to like help out, to find a trading partner, right? You both elevate yourselves by giving, you know, power and cheap trading posts, and you hope to, you know, use that to get past the other 2 players, and then you try to stab them in the back somehow. Or they might not even be your closest rival, in which case you're happy to just like keep sharing with them. So I think it's fine to have Cultists as your neighbor. I'm like kind of surprised looking back at this one that the bonus tile I took was 6 coins, though. The other players taking what they took, it all seems fine. The witches took shipping. They're probably going to try to build a bunch of dwellings round 1, or at least several. But why did I take coins? The obvious one to me right now is this. The 2 workers is great, and it's pretty hard to get a sanctuary in round 1, but it's not impossible. And if you could, like, this is the bonus tile that helps you get it, the 2 workers, right? Because what you need is 8 workers and 18 coins, right? So that's 3 more coins than you start with and 4 more workers than you start with. If you can get the 4 power worker, 2 worker power action, it's not that unlikely that you could get a sanctuary in round 1. You just like need to get a fair amount of leech, and here I am, like, the witches seem to want to go this way, the cultists seem to want to go this way, and they want to share power with me. If I could like make this a trading post first, and I think I might be able to make it a sanctuary by the end of round 1. And even if I can't, it's like, you know, having gotten 2 workers will be pretty useful. So I'm not really sure what I was up to here. Was this the game where I talked about trying to get to 8 Earth in round 1 or something? Or just get a lot of Earth early to provide me all the coins I need? Is that what I did here? Because I do remember one feature of this game, which is that I took several economic favor tiles. I didn't take Earth 1. I took like Earth 2 and Fire 1 early. Maybe that's something to do with why I didn't take that favor tile? I'm not sure. Because, like, you know, with the Earth scoring or cult income step, it would sure be nice to get to 4, but you can do that just by spending a single priest in Earth, right? And, like, okay, you could just turn the priest into a spade, and then you would get 2 points from it. But the question is, like, are the 3 cult steps worth more than the 2 points? And often they are. At the end of the game, there's usually at least one cult where you would say, oh, I would gladly pay 2 points if I could somehow move up 3 steps on this cult. You can't do that typically, but, you know, you would do it. Darklings can do it, basically, just by sending... No, they can't. Even because they only get, like, 2 steps at that point. Anyway. Point is, I don't understand my choice of bonus tile. I think it was a mistake. I think it would be totally realistic to get a sanctuary in round 1. And even if you can't, it's, like, not the end of the world. The only reason I can think is that I was like, I'll get it in round 2 and actually get the points off of it. Which seems pretty ambitious. Since it's a hotly contested favor tile that other people like to take as well. I'm kind of shocked nobody took it in round 1, because 2 workers is pretty gross. Usually, I'd rather have a worker than this 3 power, in fact. So, like, the cultists ought to take it, I would think. But maybe they have some plan in mind. Presumably they do, right? Anyway, so I get... What did I even do? Oh, yeah, I did. This was the game where I was like, I want a bunch of I did try to get to 8 in round 1. Yeah. I grabbed a priest first. So I have 2 priests, and nobody else can easily get any. And then I'm going to send a priest here for 3, getting me to 4. Then for 2, getting me to 6. And then take Earth 2, getting me to 8. That was the idea. You know, looking back on it, was it a good idea? Maybe. Like, because you get to double dip on these Earth steps, right? You get a ton of coins in round 2 if you can do that. as well as the 2 digs. But you could have gotten the 2 digs anyway by spending priests, and you would have gotten 4 points for it. Or you could get 8 points for it if you wait until round 2 to dig, because you don't have enough workers to build any dwellings anyway, right? So I think that this might have been like a step too far. Like, I gave up 8 points and Earth 1 to get this plan, and like, that's a lot, right? I don't know. I grabbed the trading post. How did they get all the way up there? Oh, from... Okay. Yeah, I grabbed the trading post before sending, because like no one else is gonna convert 5 power to a priest to dump it into Earth, right? And I just wanted, in case the cultists started building here, I wanted to get more power out of it. The cultists have rocketed up here by grabbing Earth 1 and also taking 2 cult steps somehow. I'm not clear on how that happened. Shouldn't they only get 1? At the snapshot we're looking at, an opponent has accepted power from them building a trading post, but they haven't spent it yet on a cult step. So they get a step from last turn, then they get a step from Earth 1, then they get a step from this turn, and that's how they get 3. Okay. Anyway, then I went up here, and the cultists just kept on going. Those guys are nuts. And they did start building over here. Yeah, cool. They even took an early town bridge to ensure they could start going this way and spend their digs where they want to go, which is pretty cool, I think. So there you go. I'm like, that's my round 1, and I have 2 spades. I spent them here. The idea being, I really wanted neighbors for like this tile, and I didn't think the cultists would give it to me. So I was thinking maybe the witches are a little bit afraid of committing to F6 because I can cut them off at any time with G6. So what I said is, let's roll out the red carpet for them. You know, send a signal. You are welcome. Come on in. That was the idea with taking those 2 digs specifically, and also, like, you know, if they're going to build this way, these are places I'm going to want to build soon, rather than like up here. But let's stop and look at this. Could I have gotten a sanctuary? Did I get enough leech? Suppose that I had taken the sanctuary bonus tile. The amount of leech that I got from the cultists was actually only 2. So I don't think I would have had enough power. Right? You need 3 coins and 2 workers somehow, right? You could get one of the workers by converting a priest to a worker. But the other worker would have to come from a power action or from the power conversion, convert 3. It's like, if they've only given me 2 leech and I haven't gained any anywhere else, then I must have 9 in bowl 2, which means I have access to at most 4 power. That's enough to get the 2 workers, but not enough to get any coins, the 3 coins that I need. Or it's enough to like grab, you know, 1 worker and 1 coin, convert a priest, but I'm still 2 coins short. So if I had taken that, and, you know, everyone else had behaved the same way, which they probably would have, I still wouldn't be able to build my sanctuary round 1. Now, if I had somehow predicted that the cultists would go here and placed my first dwellings here and here, then I think I might have had enough leech, because that would be 2 more, right? I'd have, or actually, maybe even more, because I could have built the trading post here and doubled up on both of their builds, getting like 4 from this structure and 1 from this one is 5. Then I'd have effectively 12 power in bowl 2. That still seems like it's 1 short if you want to take the worker power action. So I guess you convert 1 worker, 3 power to 1 worker, burn 3. You convert a priest to 1 worker. And now you just need to find 3 coins, which you can just do. So that would have been a really strong thing to do if I could predict that it was going to happen. And I wasn't really focused on the idea of building my sanctuary in round 1 when I was placing dwellings, because I didn't think they would let me have the sanctuary scoring tile. Why would they? It's great. So I don't know. This game I decided to try out like a more economic approach, not take Earth 1 even though I could have, because there was a reward for getting a bunch of Earth that would really boost my economy early. That was the idea. Did it work out? Well, I know the answer, but you'll have to wait till near the end of the video to find out. Anyway, that was round 1. Round 2, I didn't get the sanctuary scoring tile. No big surprises there. The engineers wanted it, just for the workers, I assume. Maybe they're building a sanctuary, I don't remember. Is that even realistic? Yeah, they could build it right now if they wanted. I don't know if they should. What should I do at this point? Well, I should dig once, probably. And try to get a sanctuary. Yeah, I can get it this turn, so I should do that. And I assume I do it like now, basically? No. What did I do? Oh, of course, I took a power action. I took more workers. And a question that occurs to me here is, which favor tile should I take? The most like obvious seeming one to me is like, well, you've missed out on the scoring tile that is Earth 1. So you probably ought to take Water 1, right? It's got like, you're going to be getting points from trading posts instead of from dwellings, and just try to get as many of those as you can. But I tried planning out my next couple turns, and I didn't see myself building any trading posts anytime soon. Not for at least a round or 2. So I decided to grab another economic favor tile. I took Fire 1 for the coins. So my economy really is roaring here, especially with the cult scoring income in this round. I can use that to do a lot of stuff in the next round, hopefully. And I'll have the priest income from here. I assume I'm digging like D8 soon. What did I do? Did I get the coin action? Oh my god, I did. They let me get the coins. So yeah, I'm gonna have a ton of coins over the next few turns. That was the, stuff like this is what I hoped would happen when I went for a bunch of economy. I build here. I dig and build here. Was that... Why did I build this in round... Oh no, I must have, I did both of these in round 2 and then passed. Is that right? Yeah, okay. So you might choose to delay building those dwellings until the dwelling scoring round, but I don't have, I don't know. Maybe I should have. My economy is going pretty fast. I could afford to be down 2 workers here, maybe. If it would let me get 4 points. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's not good. I also wanted to be up here so I would get leech if the engineers started building, and so they didn't try to cut me off. And I just built like a bunch of dwellings. I built a trading post on my way to a temple. Oh, we skipped the end of the round. So the round ended here. And I'm feeling like okay about my position. I have 31 points, which is like almost caught up to the other players, but they have this scoring tile, and I don't. But I have a lot more economy, right? I'm getting almost as many workers as them, more priests, 5 more coins, more power. The cultists actually have a great income. 3 priests because of their water steps, and just like great buildings, honestly. They have 7 workers down, right? What can you say? 7 dwellings. They really spread out during the dwelling scoring round. And at this point in the game, I kind of realized, like, wait a minute. I've got all this economy. How am I going to turn it into points? You know, connecting up my shipping would be one way, if I can go through here, which maybe I can. The witches probably want this tile, but I can probably squeeze around them. They don't really need 6 structures, probably. So maybe I can connect up. But even if I do, I don't have that many structures, rather. And, you know, the number of scoring bonus tiles is 2. It's not, you know, 1, but it's pretty low, actually. They're reasonable ones, but I'm not going to be able to cash in on this very much, so I really need to get this one a lot. Which, by the way, I did get for round 3 at least, so that's nice. But like the round scoring, also, there's just not a lot there. I can get 5 for a sanctuary, for a stronghold, and like maximum 12 for temples if I really go hard. And it's just going to be hard for me to turn this economy into like actually doing something. Is what I'm realizing at around this point in the game. I like haven't. It was the wrong kind of game to try a high econ, low points strategy, because there's no way to convert econ to points in the late game. I mean, temples basically, right? And your stronghold, like that's a way. You know, you get some points. You get priests, which you can send to the cult tracks. You can try to fight on the cult tracks, but the cultists are here, so they're going to be pretty good at winning those. You know, connecting up your shipping, you're not likely to be that competitive. So I kind of realized, like, oh, I'm in some trouble here. I'm only like a bit behind on points and way ahead on economy, but I don't see any way to actually like reverse those 2 things. Anyway, going into round 4, I grabbed the other scoring tile. I'm like realizing I kind of just want to take scoring tiles every time, even if they're not worth that much. And they'll be worth a fair bit for me. I can build several. Like, there's no town scoring round, so I should build my towns pretty early. You know, another dwelling here or something, for example. Or here, I don't remember. Probably here, because I want a place to build another cheap trading post. I'll like grab a temple with water 1 and then build some trading posts, I assume. Yeah. Temple, trading post. That's a town. Taking the coins. So I feel so bad about this. Like, I don't know. This is generally a good town tile, don't get me wrong. But my whole thing is about having a bunch of economy so that I can start scoring. And this is like one of the lowest scoring town tiles, which has a great economy attached to it. It's not really what I need. My idea... Oh, no. The cult... I'm not... I forget. I'm not in the first slot here when we're looking at a replay. I took the priest town. That's totally correct. Okay, good. Whew. That's a very high scoring town for me, and just a generally good town for everybody. So I'm doing my best to cash in. And I have just an... Oh, and the priest also, by the way, gives me enough to dig out H6 this round. So I can get that dwelling down a little bit sooner, get more income from it. And I can even build a trading post to complete the town and take another scoring town, right? Cult steps and 8 points. My problem is that it's now the end of round 4, and I'm out of things to do, right? There's just no avenue for me to expand. I can't try to build a third town. There's nowhere to go. I just have to, like, build temples for points, maybe connect up my network, and then build a stronghold for points. So at this point in the game, the cultists are looking in a very good position. How did they end up wasting power? Did they, like, pass and then leech? Yeah, okay. They got some leech from me, which maybe they should have expected. But even if they did expect it, maybe they don't want to burn 2. Maybe they don't want to spend 1 on coins just to get it down here and then here. I don't know. They probably should, right? Because they'd have 1 more coin, but 1 of these would be moved into bowl 2 instead of 3. So it's kind of like getting a 50% off on that coin, which is pretty good unless you have a very specific plan for your 7 power. The other thing is actually being like this as the round is ending means you might get some very cheap leech, right? Suppose the engineers put a sanctuary here. No particular reason they would. They can't. Normally the cultists would have to pay 2 to leech 3, but since they only have space for 1, they could pay 0 to leech that 1. On the other hand, that doesn't even help them because this 2 power, okay, so whatever. So my plan for the rest of the game is kind of laid out, and I don't know how I'm going to do. I've caught up on points in the sense that I'm leading, right? I'm ahead on points. It's kind of what this economy was supposed to do. But my problem is that I don't have anything to do for the last 2 rounds. These are the times when you love to build more dwellings for your Earth 1. You love to build trading posts. I don't have any place to do any of that, and my dwellings suck. Other factions might advance digging when they just have like too much stuff, but I can't do that because Darklings dig with priests. Oh, by the way, also the cultists snuck past me on Earth. Very rude. You might advance shipping, but I would have to get shipping up to 3 to really accomplish anything. And in terms of just like turning money into points, for other factions, shipping is like pretty bad, but better than doing nothing. Right? You can turn 3 priests and 12 coins, which is 15 resources, into 9 points, which is better than 5 points, which is what you would get for just leaving the resources lying around. But it's not amazing. It's something you could do, especially if you already have like 1 or 2 shipping. Grabbing the last couple steps is pretty reasonable as another faction. But for the Darklings, you're spending 6 more points than the others on that. So like turning 5 points into 9 points, you're turning 11 points into 9 points, which is awful. So you don't really upgrade shipping recreationally as the Darklings. So there's just like not a lot for me to do. I just have to build some temples, dig here, and like hope that the 12 points I get from temples... I can't even get 12. I can only get 8 because I already have this temple. Hope that that's going to be enough. Meanwhile, the other players are going to have to do a ton of good stuff. So this is the point at which I spoil for you that I was pretty sure I would not be coming in first. Didn't know if I'd be second, third, or fourth. It was like all pretty exciting, but not first. And what bonus tile did I end up getting anyway? Yeah, I couldn't get a scoring tile because the cultists had taken the good one and I was holding the bad one. So I had to give it back. Was it right to take the coins? I guess we should look at that. I'm going to have 9 coins and 5 workers, but I'm going to be building a bunch of temples, so it seems pretty reasonable. And the other ones are just like, I don't need the shipping. I'd rather have 3 coins than 3 power. Obviously, this one gives you 6 coins, but it's only 3 more than this one. But I'd rather have the 3 coins than the 3 power. And I decided I'd rather have 1 coin than 1 cult step. I'm not sure if that was correct, but that was what I decided at the time. I don't really know where I should put the cult step, so what's it going to be worth? Maybe not that much. The witches do come down here, and at this point I'm starting to worry, like, wait a minute. I might actually be able to build a reasonably sized network. If I, like, connect these things up, maybe? Like, 11 isn't a ton, but it could be okay. And I'm like, oh no, what if the witches cut me off? What did I even do in this first round? Everybody took power actions. That's kind of amazing. But not all that surprising in a late round. They're very valuable, and players often have the resources to afford them in the late game. So the witches took a single spade. I leached 6, but it was actually only 1, so fine. The cultists took the coins. Engineers double dug, and I grabbed workers, having sold all my dwellings. Where do they double dig to? Here. So the engineers are set up to have 2 towns. The witches just need a bridge for their second town. The cultists just need a couple trading posts. And I start building temples. I took Fire 3, thinking like, yeah, I'll be well ahead of cultists and engineers. And I can like I'll have a bunch of priests. I can dump some of them into fire to stay ahead of the witches, was the idea. Fire 3 is a big jump that nobody else will be able to take since I took it. And then I grabbed Water 2, right? So that's the other kind of cult favored, focused, well, these temples are just for points, right? They're giving me priests, which are points. They're giving me scoring from the round, which is points. And I don't want income from them. And I've already got, you know, water 1. I could take air 1, but I don't have a lot of trading posts right now. I'm not going to get that many of them later. So I just wanted more cult steps. That was where I saw like the last space I can make progress, because I can't do much on the board anymore. Nothing productive anyway. And I actually did something kind of funny here. I transformed H8, which was gray, to red. And that doesn't actually get it any closer to me, but it means I won't have to push it through green on the way there. Because I don't want the witches to jump in and grab it from me, and I have plenty of priests, so I can dig it. I can spend 4 digs on it instead of 3. It's not really a big deal. The witches, they sent a priest or something, I assume? Yeah, they sent a priest to fire. So they're ahead of me, but I'm still like thinking I can pass them. I spent my Water 2 favor on action on giving myself another fire step. And the witches got their bridge, very lovely for them. The engineers got their bridge. What towns have these guys taken? Engineers just took a big pile of points. And witches took coins. So they can keep doing stuff this turn, I guess. Build some temples, maybe. And then, yeah, I started digging G7. I don't know, whatever. Kind of thinking like, I can actually build G7 now. Even though it doesn't give me points, it'll give me a worker. And this will be useful when I plan to connect up my shipping next round, right? Is like, if I'm building these anyway, to connect up my shipping, I should build one of them now. I actually ended up later regretting this. I should have paid more attention to what my opponents were capable of, planned out their turns. Now that we're getting this late in the game, like, figure out what they can actually do. Am I going to be able to compete on network? And I later realized the answer is, like, I can tie one of them, but it actually gains me fewer points than just doing other stuff. So building G7, like, it was worker neutral, but it cost me 2 coins. And it didn't earn me any points. And there was a long time during the last round where I was like, if I just had 2 more coins, I'd have 1 more resource point at the end of the game, and that would be enough to, like, give me a better ranking position, I guess. Maybe it's ranking. To, like, improve my final position at the end of the game. Just those 2 coins that I threw away here would make all the difference. Even though I don't want to just spend them. I just want them to be turned into a point. So, you know, this is the lesson, I guess, is, like, figure out what your opponents are capable of. Only do things that make sense against what they might do. And I don't know. I was also like, witches are threatening to pass me on fire. And I could try to compete. Like, I could send a priest to fire. But there's 2 reasons why that's a bad idea. The first is I have 5 priest income. I actually, like, would be wasting a priest. I've built all this stuff. I have to spend all my priests on other stuff if I want to make use of them. The other is, if I go here, the witches still have a priest. They'll say, oh, all right, he's chasing me, fine. I'll take the 10 step. So somehow or other, I let the witches get ahead of me and actually be able to just take fire 10, even though I have the fire 3 favor tile. So that feels like another blunder this game. I should have... I don't know what exactly. Like, working on air, I feel like would have had similar problems, but less upside. At least in fire, I seem to be ahead of these 2, right? And the witches, in fact, do cash it in. Or lock it in, I guess, for the 3 power. And it's a cult priest's income round as well. And then they just keep going, man. They go nuts. They did a ton of stuff in this round, right? They, like, sent a priest to fire. They got a temple, taking air 2? Is air 3 gone? It's not. Air 2? That's a big surprise. I didn't notice that during the game. Why on earth air 2? Am I reading this wrong? No, they took air 2. They really wanted the 4 power for next turn, I guess. More than they wanted the extra cult step. And also, by the way, like, the advantage of the step 3 cult favors is not just that they're 1 cult step more than the 2 step ones. They also take away the possibility for your opponents to get the 3. Right? If you take a 2 and they take a 3, they've passed you by 1. If you take a 3 and they take a 2, you've passed them by 1. So it's kind of a swing of 2 cult steps to grab the 3 favor instead of the 2 favor. So, I don't know. It seems a little bit dangerous to me to have grabbed the 2 instead of the 3. But maybe they thought it through and figured out why it was right. They ended up doing pretty well this game, for what it's worth, so... you know, they probably knew what they were doing here. It just looks a little weird to me. Is this their last favorite tile? They should have 5, but they only have 4. It like broke in the middle of their turn. Right? Yeah, now they took air 3 as well, rocketing them up to the 9 step, and then they're gonna spend... No. They can't spend this, they've already spent it. No, once again, it broke in the middle of their turn. They've taken favor 6, but haven't spent it on anything yet. We'll see in the next round that they spent it on air, so they actually gained... The reason they took 2 was because they were getting 3 also. They just wanted both. So they really hammered the Cults in this round. I was not expecting them to fly so quickly in all these Cults. I thought I was going to be the Cult powerhouse connecting, but I'd already built so many temples I could only build 2, and I don't know, like, I took water 2, which is fine, and I took fire 3, but that didn't end up going anywhere. So maybe I should have, once again, I could have recognized, well, what if the witches tried to build as many temples as they could? What would they do? And they actually have like a pretty powerful play available that I did not see. So here we are in the last round, and the score projections are like, the Cultists are a mile ahead. Miles ahead. They're streets ahead. That's a meme, right? Is it from Community? I never watched Community. I watched episode 1, and I was like not that into it. Engineers look like they're losing. I look like I'm in second place, but this is all very subject to change depending on how efficiently we can convert stuff. And also, like, the witches have a network of 3 right now, tied with me. But if they just upgrade shipping by 1, they add 4 to their network. And also, like, can start maybe heading over this way to dig out some more spaces. And that ends up being what happens. My play this turn is basically just like build a stronghold, turn all your workers into priests, send most of your priests to dig, and send some of them to the cults, and like hope for the best. And I couldn't find any way to get more points than just building the stronghold for the scoring bonus, and so I just kind of did that for a while, kind of hanging around here at 1/3 power to see if anyone would give me a 4th, because the worker action would be really nice. Eventually the engineers did, I guess. I think? No, what happened? Oh yeah, they did. They gave me 1 extra power, which looks like 4, and then I took a priest. The worker power action was already gone. And I was like, well, I could just like convert 3 power to 1 worker and then later convert that worker to a priest. But I might as well just take away the priest action so nobody else can have it. This priest could turn into a worker for me, or the worker could turn into a priest, so it's a wash. But I don't want them to have access to this. And I start doing some digging. And where are we? This is about the point when I'm like looking at the scores and realizing like, oh no. Okay, so it says like my VP projection is 110, but I have a shitload of resources, right? Surely I can do something with them. I can build a stronghold. That'll be worth 5, but also I'll lose some resources, like 3. So it's like only worth 2 really. But I only have 1 dig left, and like, what am I going to do with all this money? I can't spend it on anything. I can get, I guess, a couple trading posts maybe, but I can't because I turned my workers into priests. And it's more efficient to just spend them as priests than it is to turn them into workers so that I can build trading posts for a few points. So I don't really have a lot of ways to increase my my score. And I started looking around at this point and planning out exactly the opponent's last turns. It's so late in the game that I should be able to work out exactly what everybody can do and try to find the best line against whatever they might do. Spoiler, like, I got it wrong, right? I constantly missed actions my opponents could take. Like 3 or 4 times during this last round, my opinion of what the final scores would be was changed when I was like, oh, they could do that? So my first thought was like, okay, well, look at the engineers. They have 2 workers. You know, what can they do to get points? They can build a bridge, right? They've got this stronghold down, so their bridges are worth 3 points. And that's more than a dwelling is worth. So I figured, all right, they'll just bridge this up and that's their turn. You know, how about the witches? Their turn seems pretty clear. They're going to build here. And they still have... They've upgraded their digging to level 3. So with their power, especially if they send a priest to the cult track, they will have enough to also dig one of these 2 and build. And that'll be that. So they're going to get 2 more dwellings down for 4 points. And it's going to cost them 7 total resources. And then they'll send a priest to something. It doesn't really matter what. Oh, but they do have water too. So they'll send it to water, and then they'll take the water favor tile to step to here. Doesn't matter. They'll get 2 more power out of it. Which means that the priests can still count as resources, kind of. So they'll spend all of this, and also like the power they get from sending their priest to build their 2 dwellings. So we can just look at them and say, oh, they have 1, 2, 3 resources lying around. And they'll have 4 more points. So that's 120. And I was looking at what I could do, and it comes out to 119. There's just no way I could get it to go any higher. Oh, no, that's not true. At this point in the game, I thought I could get 122. Because I said, well, the engineers only have a network size of 10, and they're just going to build a bridge, so they'll be at 10. And I have 9 structures. I can spend 1 priest here and build, and that costs me 2 points to have built. You know, I'll have spent 4 coins and 2 workers, which is 2 points. Maybe even, you know, 4 coins and some priests if I have to, like, because I don't think I have enough workers. I only have enough workers to dig once after building the stronghold and converting to priests. So it's actually costing me, like, you know, 5 resources and 2 points. But that's still pretty good because it lets me go from 0 network points to 6 network points, passing the engineers. And so I was like, okay, that's the plan. We're going to do that. I'll be at 122. Witches will be at 120. And engineers will be down in the toilet at like 113 or 115 or something. At any rate, a very close final round. But I realized at some point, after I had like sort of mentally declared victory, that the engineers have a better plan available. They have 3 shipping, and building stuff is cheap for them. They can just build A2. It costs the same amount of resources as that bridge. And it gives them 2 points instead of 3, but it increases their network to 11, which means that even if I do all this, I only get 3 network points, not 6. And I'm down to 119 against the witches' 120. Like right now, I'm ahead of the witches on network, you know, because they have They have 10, and I'm planning 11. But remember, I know they're planning 2 more. They'll have 13, and there's no way I'm catching that. The Cultists currently have a lot as well, right? They have 5, 10, 12. But the Witches will be ahead of them, so... Or maybe... Yeah, the Witches will be ahead of them. So now it's like, oh, God, what do I do? Well, it looks like connecting up isn't going to be worth anything for me, so I guess I'll just spend my priests on digging and maybe cult steps. And indeed, the engineers do this. The witches do this. And I start spending, like, I spend a favor step, because I know I want to put off as long as I can all these decisions until I see for sure what the opponents have done. But I definitely want to take 2 steps in water. 1 priest is worth... You know, a favor step here is worth a point, and then a priest is worth another point, right? I go from 2 to 4. Why did I do this? No, I didn't spend a priest on it. I had a favor and a bonus tile, each giving me 1 step, and spending them on this was as good as anything. I didn't want to spend it here because the cultists could just pass me again, but the engineers can't. So I did those things, and the witches kind of did what I expected. And the cultists were like spending their priests on cult, you know, having nothing much else to do. And I'm like, yep, it looks pretty over, right? They have 120, I'm only going to get 119. Going to come third. But this turned out to be wrong also. I didn't expect this. The cultists built on B1. I was kind of thinking, you know what? If they wanted to, the cultists could let me win by not passing me on the cult tracks, or let me come second. They're so far ahead, they can do whatever they want. In the tournament, if they wanted to, they could let me come second. But I didn't really see any reason why they would want to do that. The engineers could do the same thing by building a bridge instead of a dwelling. Anyone who wants to could let me come second, but they don't really have a good reason to. But then the cultists did this, which I just did not see coming at all. They turned 2 power into 2 coins, and 2 priests into 2 workers. And apparently they were at, like, digging 3, or, you know, at I still don't understand where they came up with all these. I guess. Oh, right. It's only 1 step for them. So they spent 3 workers digging and another worker building, and they turned 2 priests into workers, and they turned 2 coins into the building, but it got them 2 points and pushed them ahead of the witches, or maybe caught them up to the witches. I always forget. Yeah, it pushed them to first place on network scoring, which dropped the witches by 3. And so now I'm actually in line to finish second. Now, there's nothing the witches can do about it. So the cultists helped me, I think, not really because they wanted to, not because they looked at the standings of all the games and decided that I was the smallest threat, but just to increase their margin of victory. Right? Because I think that that's the tiebreaker. If 2 players have the same number of points, the one who is closest to first in the games that they weren't first gets to advance. I think that's how it works. So by adding points to themselves and taking it away from witches, they've decreased everyone else's margin of victory, or everyone's closeness to victory, percentage of first, I don't know what it's called, but increased their own margin of victory. And so I just like spent my priests digging and then undigging to get some points. There's no point trying to fight on cult tracks when I could just cash in 8 points on the board itself. And so the cultists had a phenomenal performance here, just absolutely crushed all of us. As sort of predicted by the claim that cultists are great at cleaning up the mess that witches and engineers leave behind. I think I just didn't play the game very well, and I was lucky to sneak by in second when it was a game that really I should have been in pole position to win. I got Darklings first pick, I think. I already forget if I was first or what. Yeah, I first picked Darklings, and Witches and Engineers are like sort of just by entering the game, they're giving you first and second if you don't mess up. But I don't know. I over prioritized economy and didn't have a way to turn it into points. Eventually the way I did it was like, well, I'll just build a bunch of priest income and turn the priests into points, which is like a pretty lame way to get points. If we look at my final scoring, it's like a little bit, I don't know, 34? I don't think you usually get 34 from Darkling digging. Maybe you do. I feel like it's usually in the mid to low 20s, though. I just had a lot of priests this game, somehow. Maybe. I took expensive towns. I couldn't get much out of Water 1 because I'd already built so many trading posts. And I didn't have any dwellings to upgrade. I did okay on like the round scoring, but not great, right? 21 is actually pretty low. It's just not a very high scoring. God, the engineers did better than me on round scoring, right? They had 22. I'm sure the cultists did great. 17, 23, 29. Yeah, I mean, I've had games where I scored like in the 40s on cult scoring or round scoring. And here 12, 17, 23. Like somehow, despite setting up this huge economy, I did worse than everyone on round scoring. And also, I didn't have scoring favor tiles. And I didn't really do that well on cults, right? Like, I got 2 seconds and a third. Like, how embarrassing is that? I don't know. I got all my points from like turning priests into digs. Yeah, so not a very well played game by me. I'm very lucky to have come second. And as you can see, by the way, in between the last video and this one, I did finish my third game. It really was. I just needed to take my last turn. The final opponent had passed, so I just did a few things to cash in the points I had lying around. So the standings, as far as you guys know, so far are that Sam and I have each won a single game, and I believe Sam was second in my other game, right? He must be, right? He or she, I don't actually know. Let me just double check. In this game here, right, Sam was the one player who didn't drop out. It was the Nomads. Sure. Why not? We'll let you guys have a peek at the game that we already looked at last episode, just for funsies. Yeah, this game. Remember this? Sam came second, and actually the score disparity was pretty similar this game, right? I crushed him this game. He crushed me last game, or the second game, whatever. Anyway, so we're doing okay. It looks like Sam might be our rival for the season, but you know, he could do badly in his last 2 games, and someone else could do very well in all of their games. Although that's not going to happen since there's players dropping out of all the games. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, I guess. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.